Please be seated. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Mr. Lex Dadd, representative of the Darug people, to offer the traditional welcome to country. Mr. Dadd.
Budjeri Mulamul, ladies and gentlemen, that is good morning in Darug. The land on which we stand upon today is of the Wadamadigal, which is part of the Darug Nation. So on behalf of my people, I would like to welcome you to Darug land. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our elders, both past and present, and to honour our ancestors. So everyone is aware of the importance of a welcome to country. I would like to share with you of what a welcome to country means. Traditionally, a welcome was to allow safe passage for visitors to pass through country unhindered, hunt and gather food, or meet for business to discuss important matters. Visitors would light a fire and wait to be approached by a traditional custodian to ask of their business, thus the welcome to country. Most times, corroboree, celebration, and in particular ceremony, was an integral part of the welcome in which various mobs would gather. Our process is marked by a ceremony and is similar to what we are doing here today. So we're here to gather today in ceremony, acknowledging and celebrating your achievements. I would like to thank the University of their acknowledgement of our people and for the invitation to welcome you here today. This acknowledgement is important to our people and appreciated by our elders. Education is highly valued in our culture. Knowledge meant survival. We have a long association with history of academia and education in this country. In traditional society, our elders were held in high esteem for their accumulated wisdom and experience. One of my ancestors we fondly remember as Grandma Kitty, commonly known as Black Kitty in the history books. She was originally from the Wumali clan in Prospect. Placed in a native institution, a school set up by Governor Macquarie in 1815, Grandma Kitty was to be assimilated into a new world. She was one of 4 Aboriginal children to be placed there. These 4 Aboriginal children, although very young, set a precedence for the future generations, just like each and everyone here today. You're all setting examples for the future generations. And my family is very proud of our Grandma Kitty, as I'm sure all your families are very proud of you. As I look upon you all here today, I feel humbled and honoured to be part of this ceremony. Congratulations, well done, and good luck. Didjagul Warami, welcome once again. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce the Chancellor of Macquarie University, the Honourable Michael Egan. Mr. Egan.
Thank you, Lex Dadd, for your welcome to country. Well, graduands, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and I noticed that this morning we also have a couple of tiny tots and a couple of babes in arms. Now, there's one thing about little children and babies. They do cry and they do make a noise, particularly if they've got to endure a ceremony that goes for about an hour and a half. But when they do, you are not to take them outside. You are to stay here. We can put up with the noise of babies and children. We've all been there ourselves. But in any event, I have a view that if a baby cries during a graduation ceremony, that baby will be back within 25 years to receive a doctorate. So please stay. Well, it's my great privilege as Chancellor of Macquarie University to preside at this very important ceremony today. First, I'd like to welcome all of our graduands, and I hope this will be a very happy and a very memorable occasion for all of you. Now, some of you are already smiling, but some of you still look very worried and nervous. Please don't. This is a day to relax and enjoy. It should be a great day for you. The worst thing that can happen, and it does happen occasionally, is someone trips and falls over. Well, when that happens, we just pick you up. In fact, we always have a special person designated to pick you up if you do fall over. And today, that's our occasional speaker, Professor Karen Martin, who's come all the way from Lismore. So as well as giving the occasional address, she's I know, very good at picking people up who fall over. Well, now, as I say, please relax and enjoy the day, because you deserve to take pride in your graduation. Because completing a degree is never easy. You need an intelligent and inquiring mind. You need determination and perseverance. And you need to make many sacrifices. So welcome and congratulations to each and every one of you. Today I also want to welcome, and especially welcome, those of you who are sitting behind our graduands as their invited guests. Because if you think about it for just a moment or two, you've all obviously done well too. The very fact that you're here, the fact that you've been invited by one of our graduands to share one of the great days of their lives, is proof positive that you have been very important in those lives and in the successes that we celebrate today. So mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, cousins, sons and daughters, grandmothers and grandfathers, friends, husbands and wives, partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, lovers, or whatever you happen to be, congratulations, and thank you for celebrating this great occasion with us. And I don't want you to think either that observing today's graduation is the end of your role. I have another important service for you to perform for our newest graduates, as they will soon become. I want you to make sure that the degrees they receive today are never ever put in a bottom drawer, but are always proudly displayed in a position of prominence. In other words, if our graduands are too shy or self-effacing to proclaim their success, you make sure you do it for them. Now, the ceremony that we're about to participate in is one of the world's oldest social rituals. For centuries, graduates have been donning robes just like the ones our graduands are wearing today, and participating in ceremonies just like this one. Indeed, there are some 50 universities in the world which can trace their history back more than 500 years. Now, I'm sure it won't come as a surprise to you, I'll be worried if it does, to learn that Macquarie University is not one of those 50 universities. We're very young, relatively young, 48 years of age. At least that's young from where I see things. But in that 48 years, we've come a long way. We now have more than 130,000 Macquarie graduates living in more than 120 countries. Macquarie is a very modern and outward-looking university. We're always trying to engage with the world around us. We're regarded as one of Australia's leading research universities and are currently extending our research as we are our course offerings and facilities. On your way here today, you may have seen a lot of construction work happening. That's on the Australian Hearing Hub. You may also have seen our new Macquarie University Hospital, which is about 18 months old, and as well, by the way, we're the only university in Australia with its own hospital. And of course, it's used not only to treat sick people, but also used by the students and staff in our Advanced School of Medicine. You may also have seen our new library, which we're very proud of, which opened last year and which I think is already the envy of every other university in the land. So we are looking forward and we are on the move. We want Macquarie always to be a leader in teaching and learning and a leader in the accumulation of knowledge and understanding. In other words, an ideal community of scholars. And in just a few minutes, graduands, it will be my very great honour to confer your degrees upon you and welcome you as lifelong members of that community of scholars we proudly call Macquarie University. Thank you.
Chancellor, I call on Miss Dinah Coxsedge, who is graduating today with a Master of Teaching, birth to 5 years, to speak on behalf of the graduating group. Miss Coxsedge.
Chancellor, members of the University, fellow graduates and guests, As I am reminded every time I use my student number, it's a long time since I first came to Macquarie. I came here as an undergraduate to do a BA in ancient history in the early 1980s. Then the plane trees were much smaller and shade was at a premium at lunchtime. The library was a place of hushed silence and it had a card catalogue. Instead of computers, there were TARDIS-like machines that read things called microfiche, but most of my research was done using old books, and a lot of time was spent in the long queues in the photocopying rooms. On the very rare occasions that I needed a journal article or a book chapter that was unavailable at the library, a special form had to be filled in, and a photocopy of the article would arrive weeks later in a manila envelope. Assignments were often laboriously written and rewritten by hand. Since then, I have gone away and returned several times, on each occasion replenishing my supplies of knowledge and enthusiasm. In the late 1990s, I returned to a computerised Macquarie to do a Master of Education, which supported the work I was then doing both in early childhood and adult education. 10 years later, I started the Master of Teaching degree, Birth to 5 Years, which is being conferred today. Considering this long association with Macquarie, the phrase lifelong learning inevitably springs to mind, but I don't feel exactly comfortable with that notion. To me, it's an inadequate phrase, suggesting something rather mundane and almost medicinal, as true and as unappealing as its companion phrase, use it or lose it. My experience of learning has much more in common with the experience of 17th century privateers waylaying galleons loaded with treasure from the New World. My treasures are knowledge and ideas which I prize with as much satisfaction as a dragon sits on her hoard. Learning and knowledge, theories and ideas, thinking and reflection, these are all part of what for me is a great adventure. I'm glad that the language of early childhood pedagogy acknowledges this view of learning. We talk about children as explorers and observe and engage with their discovery of the world. Our mistake as adults is to think that the children are simply rediscovering what we already know, when in fact each day, each child can discover something new about the world, if not in terms of different facts, then in terms of how they perceive the realities around them and build them into their map of the world. The poet John Donne describes how when different people walk along the same seashore, one might gather pebbles, another will be interested in the shells, and another will collect pearls or amber. It's always delightful to meet another pebble collector. In my case, this is literally as well as figuratively true. And I'm privileged to spend my days in the company of children as they explore the world and make their maps, often coming up with surprising solutions to questions that I would never have even thought to ask. During the recent long spell of wet weather, which has only just ended, it seems, one of the children I work with sat down one afternoon and drew the rain. It started with a few drops and gradually built up in intensity until it covered the whole page. I asked him if it was ever going to stop, and he assured me that it would rain for 2 days because he had seen 2 cockatoos. But as he continued to draw, another idea came to him. He said we should build a rocket and fill it with all the rainwater and fly it up to the sun to dry it out. He then went and got his friends to build the rocket, a long line of chairs that went from one end of the room to the other. And as they worked, the mission transformed into a journey to the sun, so we could all go and get a bit of warmth and sunshine. It would be all right, because he had special suits to stop us getting burned. You see, our children know about UV radiation. I was convinced, and quite frankly, if it starts raining again, I'll be on the next mission. You can see that from this, that for me, it's not strictly speaking the facts that matter. I know, as another adult presented with the rocket was quick to point out, that there probably is no suit in the world that would make it safe to fly to the sun. But you notice, I only say probably. Who knows? What is special, though, is the pursuit of knowledge and the shaping of understanding. It is not about knowing more than someone else or measuring my store of knowledge against anyone else's, but simply the pleasure of finding out how things work, why things have happened, what connects things and connects us all. According to William Morris's aesthetic philosophy, we should only give house room to things that we know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. I could paraphrase that as my criteria for knowledge. We should only give headroom to ideas we know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. But there is a lot of overlap, and nothing is ever really wasted. I don't put my arts degree in one basket and my more professionally orientated education degrees in another. In fact, the most practical gem of knowledge I acquired at university is the knowledge of how to prune, which I learned as part of my undergraduate arts degree. And I still find myself thinking of apical meristems whenever I am out in the garden with the pruning shears. I have also been known to dig back into the past and talk about the rag dolls and wooden horse toys that are part of the archaeological record when I'm documenting the play of the 21st century children I work with. As someone for whom knowledge and learning is so precious, there are inevitably people and institutions to whom I owe a debt of thanks. And ultimately, that is what I would like to convey here. I would like to thank all those teachers who have added treasure to my store of knowledge, most particularly to those here at Macquarie, and especially those in the Institute of Early Childhood, who in the past few years have challenged and extended me, and now sent me back out into the world, better equipped for the voyage of discovery that I'm on, inspired and well provisioned. I know that there have been many differences in the experience of each of us graduating here today, but I hope that each of you is also carrying away with you some treasure that will transform your lives, and that those of you who are also going on to work with children will be able to hand that treasure on to them, along with the enthusiasm and delight of discovering it and rediscovering it with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dina. I must say I really enjoyed that. And it is true, it's not just children, it's all of us can learn something new every day, although I must say when you get to my age, it's also true that you forget something new every day. As much as I enjoyed your comments, you have made it a bit awkward for me because I often use the term lifelong learning, and I'll now have to find a replacement. I think lifelong adventure might be the one, so thank you. Congratulations on your Master of Teaching, and just because you've got 3 degrees from Macquarie doesn't mean you can't come back for a 4th or a 5th. And I might say, I noted that your first degree was in ancient history, and if anybody wants to come back and do some more study, and I hope you all will at some stage, I'd recommend you have a look at ancient history because we've got a really big reputation for ancient history in this university, and it's a fascinating area of discovery and learning. So thank you very, very much. Well, we now come to the key part of the ceremony, the reason you are all here, and that's the conferring of degrees. Now, this is the only bit of the ceremony that makes me nervous because it's an awesome responsibility that I have to confer a degree on you because I don't want to make a mistake. I want to make sure that you are qualified and eligible to receive your degrees because I'm told if I do make a mistake, I can't take the degree back. So for that reason, the Deputy Registrar is here and he has to give me an ironclad guarantee that you're all qualified to graduate today, that all of your assignments were always submitted on time, that you never missed a class. So, Deputy Registrar, over to you.
Chancellor, I certify that all of the candidates being presented here today and those who are absent have satisfied the requirements of the Academic Senate for the degrees and diplomas they are to be awarded. Would all candidates for admission to degrees and diplomas please stand?
Graduands, in the name of the Council of Macquarie University, and by my authority as Chancellor, I admit each of you present and those who are absent to the degrees or diplomas for which you have qualified. Graduates, congratulations.
Please be seated. Chancellor, the graduates at this ceremony are from the Faculty of Human Sciences. The faculty teaches courses and conducts research about people, investigating the how and the why. It is home to a number of internationally recognised research centres, conducting groundbreaking research across disciplines in areas like cognitive science and early childhood education. Exciting opportunities exist for students and researchers alike. This faculty includes research and study areas in advanced medicine, education, linguistics, psychology, early childhood, and human cognition and brain science. Chancellor, I now call on Professor Janet Greeley, Executive Dean of the Faculty of Human Sciences, to present the graduates and diplomates. Professor Greeley.
Chancellor, I present to you the graduates and diplomates from the Faculty of Human Sciences whom you have admitted to degrees or awarded diplomas. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Early Childhood, Eleanor Catherine Aroba. Sally Jane Beasley. Matthew Thomas Byrne. Shelley Hansen. Danielle Kim. Nithya Radhakrishnan. Stephanie Simpson Blair. I present the graduate admitted to the degree of Master of Education, Dennis Michael Kelleher. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Educational Leadership, Early Childhood Education, Pushpa Leela Kultan. Emma Louise Cullen, who has been awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Commendation for Academic Excellence. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Special Education, Hannah Sean Bradley. Sarah Elizabeth Brisley, who has been awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Commendation for Academic Excellence. Penelope Fountain. Danielle Elizabeth Fraser. Mariana Gobrin. Katie Louise Helen Phillips. Sharon Nicole Seidel. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Teaching, birth to 5 years. Annabelle Azores. Sukwe Amy Cheng. Dinah Teresia Coxedge. Chi Ding. Carmen Adriana Jarrett. Poonam Ravi Kura. Wendy Lay. Wendy Leung. Shaden Macquarie. Lisa Patricia Millam. Jessica Maya Sung. Emily Iju Wang. I present diplomates awarded the postgraduate diploma in special education. Susan Marie Burnett. Zanya Kate Howison. Michelle Ann Tees. I present diplomates awarded the graduate diploma in early childhood. Margaret Joan Byrne. Jane Ann Carberry. Robin Drummond. I present graduates admitted to the honors degree of Bachelor of Education, Early Childhood Education with first-class honors. Ruth Corteas. Stella Martino. Sarah Scott. I present the graduate admitted to the honors degree of Bachelor of Education, Early Childhood Education, Emily Claire Hamilton Spears. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Palwasha Kayumi. Sarah Yu Lee. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Education, Early Childhood Education, Jackie Angelovska. Vidya Balachandran. Robin Josephine Barlow. Jacqueline Louise Borg. Cassandra Margaret Clifford. Rebecca Helena Conroe. Hannah Isabel Crossley. Jillian Naomi Kaneen. Kalia Margaret Dalton. Emma Louise Dempsey. Megan Cecilia Dwyer. Sasha Nicole Fisher. Michelle Foley. Leanne Gauchi. Nicole Ann Goward. Catherine Gower. Lucille Veronica Guinan. Kristen Hammond. Karen Elizabeth Hewitt. Annika Ray Hodgson. Diana Katrina Roberts Kidman. Rebecca Ann Knox. Mimi Lamb. Caroline Rose Lovelace. Avril Joy Mahoney. Megan Cecilia Mason. Julia Elizabeth McIntyre. Laura Ann McManus. Claire Elizabeth Ogg. Emma Joanne Ridley. Natasha Julia Skiberis. Catherine Smith. Hayley Elizabeth Smythe. Vanessa Starr. Alicia Jane Stroud. Sylvia Tadros. Marianella Torres Benitez. Jessica Ann Townsend. Marcella Marie Wilkinson. Ruth Barbara Wilson. Pamela Angelina Wyatt. I present the graduate admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Teaching, Birth to School Age, Virginia Ricobus. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Teaching, Early Childhood Services, Marianne Coe. Mandy Hockey. Roslyn Webb. Danielle Wedrat. Chancellor, on behalf of the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Arts, I present graduates whom you have admitted to degrees. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Community Management, Elena Alcibar. Anthea Marie Mahoney. Catherine Ann Naden. Neil James Holt Samarden. Sharon Ann Taylor. Chancellor, that completes this morning's presentation of the graduates and diplomates from the Faculty of Human Sciences and the Faculty of Arts.
Okay, good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, students. We are descendants, and this morning we're going to share with you a little bit of Yilal and Awadama song and dance, but we come from the far northern regions of Queensland, Cairns, Cape York Peninsula, and down into the Gulf of Carpentaria. So all of the songs, dances, stories, language today comes from this region, and we just acknowledge and pay respect to the local Aboriginal people of this area here for dancing and telling our stories here. Firstly, we'd like to start off with a welcoming dance to welcome you here to our performance, Jalama, Wanjibo and Apoyundo. Welcome, friends. ma. Okay, Wuri Umbunji. Wuri means fire. Umbunji is a sacred river, runs on an Aboriginal community which is just south of Cairns called Yarrabah. And on the banks of this river, Umbunji, rituals and ceremonies once occurred like baptisms, initiation, marriage, birth, etc. This is a spiritual blessing or a baptism dance. The Kunganji people of that area, while they purified their spirit using fire and smoke. Hey, Wuri Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Dana Okala, Walalayanan, Wuri Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Dana Okala, Walalayanan. Hey, Wuri Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Dana Okala, Walalayanan. Hey, Wuri Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Dana Okala, Walalayanan. Ware Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Chana Okola, Walalayanan. Ware Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Chana Okola, Walalayanan. Eh, Ware Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Chana Okola, Walalayanan. Ware Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Chana Okola, Walalayanan. Yep. Eh, Ware Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Chana Okola, Walalayanan. Hey! Eh, Ware Umbunji, Gidiri Wanan, Chana Okola, Walalayanan. Hey! Thank you very much. Ugadanji, Burinana, or Marlo. This is 3 different ways of saying the word kangaroo. Very important animal to our people, especially our ancestors. It provided that essential life source like skin to keep warm, to make shelter or bedding. The meat, it nourished our bodies. Bones made different tools and weapons. Even the sinew in the tail of the kangaroo, it wasn't wasted. It made very strong string, or rope, so rarely was any part wasted at all, and we now pay respect to Ugadanj. Kanguru, yunda. Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, Nayangale, Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, Nayangale, ma. Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, Nayangale, Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, Nayangale, ma. Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, Nayangale, Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, Nayangale, ma. Ugadanje, Majinba, Ugadanje, Majinba, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, Nayangale, brrr, hey, on the pork, yeah. All right, thank you. Just a couple more for you. This dance here is going to take us to the tablelands of Cairns now, to a little place called Mossman, right through to the Daintree Rainforest, the Kukuyalanji people. And this is the story of them preparing to go into the mangrove and collect shell food, oysters, crab, periwinkles, longmuyo, akul shells, but always avoiding the attack of the mosquito. So this dance here, Indirabaigan, means mosquito biting us. It tells of the people rubbing mud from head to toe and allowing that mud to dry. It made it just a little bit more difficult for the mosquito to penetrate through that mud to pierce our skin. Secondly, lighting fire, burning all that green leaf to make smoke and chase those sandflies away. Most importantly, the use of the eucalyptus leaves hung over a fire. The heat would extract the oil, the eucalypt oil, to the surface. It would sweat, and the oil was collected, rubbed on the body, and it was used as a natural repellent, and it was really good for healing infectious bites. Indirabaigan mosquito. Okay, this second last dance we're going to do, Warama or Ngaro, which means to dance. In this particular case here, it's the Bamas style, which is the men's style, in which we call Imbala. It's when they're shaking their legs. Represents the flight of one of the totems found up in the rainforest there, the Ulysses or the Dunk Island butterfly. So when the men shake their legs, it represents the flight of this insect. But this dance here, Waramangaru, it showcases their own individual style of Imbala. Waramangaru yundo. Finally here today, we'd like to farewell you with Ginang Manang Apo Wanjibos, farewell friends. Before we go, on behalf of descendants, once again we thank the university very much for coming along and for inviting us along and to share some of our stories. I always say, you know, we're just one of 600 different groups, and we're honoured to be able to tell our stories today, so we really hope you enjoyed them. We just like to congratulate all of the students today and wish you all the success in the future and whatever your endeavours, and in particular the Indigenous students. So thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I'm sure you did. That was the Descendants Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Dance Theatre, and I think they deserve another great round of applause. And could I also take the opportunity to thank our alumni volunteers who are sitting over there, who have come along today and they come along to many graduations to make sure that they run smoothly, so I'm sure you'd like to thank them as well. And sitting next to them are our musicians, our organist Dr. James Forsyth and our Chinese flutist Mr. Chai Chang Ning. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce our occasional speaker, Professor Karen Martin. Now, she didn't have to perform any of her first role, nobody fell over, well done, but now she's to give the occasional address. Professor Martin has published and presented widely in the areas of Aboriginal early childhood, Aboriginal knowledge and Aboriginal research. Her PhD was conferred in 2007 when she was awarded the James Cook University Medal and jointly awarded the AARE Doctoral Research in Education Award. One of her greatest achievements was being named the Nardak Scholar of the Year in 2008. Professor Martin is currently an Associate Professor of Early Childhood at Southern Cross University at Lismore. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Martin.
Deputy Vice-Chancellor, members of faculty, distinguished guests, graduates and families and friends. I want to acknowledge at the very outset that I'm an outsider to this country and there are certain protocols that I must observe so that I behave well and so that I may return. So thank you for your welcome and I hope I do justice to your mob and my mob too, because believe me, they'll know how well I've done even before I get home again. I've got a script here, but I'm not sure how closely I'll follow it. But I'll do my best, but I aim to stay under 10 minutes, although I've been told it should be 8. Because that was quite a moving ceremony. And I'm going to elaborate on different aspects of ceremony, particularly because those folk were dancing some of the songs of where I actually did my PhD. So I don't know how the ancestors melded this together, but and the speech is about the importance of welcome to country. But I'm going to share this other sets of insights and layers of learning and layers of meaning to this notion of ceremony and why we're actually here today. So I'm very, very honoured and very, very humbled to be giving this occasional address. It's what a very significant ceremony, and it's here that I want to elaborate on those processes by getting you to consider your journey to this point on this day and at this ceremony that formally recognises your changes from student to graduate and then from student to professional, if that's not already the case. This day represents the journey before and now the journey beyond life after study. Ceremony for Aboriginal peoples is about preempting and preparing for change. So today represents the changes that have occurred to your identity and your selfhood over the period of your studies. It is at these formal times that these changes are acknowledged and celebrated both by you and with you. For they also represent changes in relationships with your family and your friends and your lecturers and your tutors. But these changes are not ones that erase or replace parts of your former self, but it is the case that they expand and deepen your identity. In essence, you become more because of these experiences. You might also become different, but in what should be a very good way. And this is why ceremonies, like the one here today, are so important and so powerful. The world gets to see the next you, not necessarily the new you, because at the core, you're still the same, but it should make you different in certain ways. Ceremonies inform the world, your world, of these changes, and that they are so esteemed that they are worthy of following certain rituals and practices and protocols and processes that began, as we've heard from the address from the Chancellor, a very long time ago. Although I would like to add that our ceremonies have been happening for hundreds and thousands of years. But ceremonies are about getting things clear, not necessarily right, or as best that they can be at any point in time to show the value of your work and the value of you as a human being, and the value that the work that others have endured with you on this very long point to this very day. Therefore, although it must have sometimes felt otherwise, you've not been alone on this journey. Ceremonies remind us that this is the case. And here today, we celebrate these journeys for all of us because we too are different because of your journey through higher education studies. So these ceremonies are equally about the you of the past and the completion of your studies and role of student. They invariably entail your professional identity. For some, that will consolidate that professional identity. For others, it will be emerging, somewhat foundational and somewhat in its infancy. Since your identity has changed, it will make you feel different. And whilst this is important, take the time to think, how can I make a difference, rather than just merely be different? For in spite of the advances that we live with today, and the ones that we take for granted, there are many other long-standing matters that have been ignored or pushed from one point to the next and back again, and others that persist. Where can you make a difference and effect change that it's sustainable because it's good? It is well-informed, but not necessarily well-intentioned, and it achieves not just equity, but raises the essence of our humanity, all of us. That's another purpose of ceremonies, to not just to look at who is here, but to also to think about who is not here and why this is the case and what might be changed. Ceremonies are times to preempt and prepare for life beyond today. Who will you be next is the best way to phrase this, not so much what will you be doing. Ceremonies are time for celebration, reflection, planning and action for your life and your world post-studies. It's a good time to think again, to talk again, and to prepare for your next sets of journeys. One of those journeys may see you at some time sitting right here on stage. Another may see members of your families sitting where you are right now. How do I know this? Well, upon my graduation, a few years ago now, some 28 I think, but I stopped bothering to calculate after 25, I was sitting where you are now, watching the same elements and processes of this graduation ceremony, and I observed one of my lecturers in the academic procession in her doctoral robes. And I cheekily thought to myself, I want one of those, and the hat too. At that time, further studies was the last thing on my mind, and I wanted to not give it nothing more than a glancing thought. However, during the course of those 28 plus years, with some application of my then newly acquired knowledge to be an early childhood teacher, I set about applying this and testing my own theories of teaching and learning. Along the way, I met some even better skilled and better informed teachers. Most were aged between 3 and 5. Therefore, I would have you to think about where you will be in 5 years' time after applying the benefits of your journey of study to this point, and that you pause to consider adding to this with further studies. So coming back again, and coming back perhaps and being on stage as well, particularly pursuing your higher degree studies. So of course it stands to reason that you would want to do so where you've already experienced not just success, but where your identity as a university scholar was first realised, where you know the culture of that study environment and that study community, and where you look after others because they will then look after you. In closing, I congratulate you for your success. I congratulate your family for their successes. I'll let your friends decide what it is they will be congratulated for. And I congratulate the faculty for leading the journeys and for bringing this one to this phase at this ceremony. Thank you.
Well, that was a really great occasional address, I'm sure you'll agree. I've heard a lot of occasional addresses. I've never heard one before on the subject of ceremonies and the importance of ceremonies. And I thought Professor Martin's address was not only very extremely thoughtful and insightful, but also informative and entertaining. A couple of expressions she used, I hope you'll remember. You become more and you become different. And I think all of you will, I'm sure, be very grateful for a great occasional address, and I think you should put your hands together again. Okay. Well, graduates and ladies and gentlemen, well, graduates, I'm addressing the graduates at this stage, not your guests. This ceremony marks the end of one stage in your relationship with Macquarie University, but it's certainly not the end of your association with Macquarie. From today on, for the rest of your lives, you are part of the bigger Macquarie family, which is our alumni, and part of the network of Macquarie alumni, which now spans the globe. Now, we'll keep in touch with you through our alumni program. Now, that program, I would normally have said, is focused on lifelong learning. But after our graduate speech this morning, I'm not going to use that term. I'm going to say it's focused on lifelong adventure, lifelong support, and lifelong connections. Our commitment to you is to help you keep in touch and engage with Macquarie throughout your life. And please do make sure to come back to Macquarie, either to undertake more study, to attend alumni events, perhaps use our aquatic and fitness facilities, or even on days that are much more pleasant weather-wise than today, even enjoy a picnic down by our lake occasionally. Well, graduates, the award of a university degree carries many opportunities and privileges, but like all privileges, it also carries responsibilities. Believe it or not, you, each and every one of you, can change the world. And you don't have to be a Nobel Prize winner to do it either, because almost everything you do, in your homes, in your workplaces, and in your communities matters and can make a huge difference. The consequences of every effort, every action, large or small, can reverberate through society, through the decades, indeed the centuries. Even something as simple as a kind word or a kind gesture can often be the spark that ignites a great life or a great career or a great achievement. So as Chancellor of Macquarie University, I charge you to use what you have learned not only for your own betterment, but also for the benefit of the community. I charge you to use the skills and knowledge you have acquired with rigour and integrity, and to commit yourselves to a program, again I was going to say lifelong learning, I'll say lifelong adventure and inquiry. I charge you to recognise the worth and dignity of all people, particularly those who have not had the opportunities that you've enjoyed. I charge you to set high goals and to continue the hard work that has brought you so far. I charge you, wherever you go, to go with all your heart, and in all you do, I charge you to uphold the good name of Macquarie University. Now, graduates, I hope that also you'll always remember the people who have helped you along the way, many of whom, of course, are here with you today. So to acknowledge their contribution and thank them for it, I'm now going to ask you to do a couple of things. Graduates, will you please stand? Now I want you to put your degrees on the seats behind you, and I want you to turn around to face your families and friends. And now I invite you to give them a mighty round of applause. Now, graduates, you can turn around now, but don't sit down, because we'll be leaving very soon. Behind me, of course, are representatives of our academic staff who have supported you throughout your journey, and I'm sure you'd like to thank them as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the official party will now leave the courtyard through the centre aisle, and will be followed by all of the graduates. I would invite you all to now please stand, and please remain standing until the last of the graduates have processed out. And then I hope you'll all join us at the University Court for some light refreshments. Well, graduates, I wish you the very best for the future, and in the words of the old Irish blessing, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you and good luck.